And now please join me in giving a warm welcome to Michelle Alexander.
Generous introduction. It is just wonderful to be here, surrounded by so many people willing to engage in meaningful dialogue about racial and social justice in America today. And I'm grateful to have the opportunity to share with you what has become the purpose and passion of my life, ending mass incarceration in the United States, a penal system unprecedented in world history, a system that has decimated so many families, destroyed so many communities, and literally turned back the clock on racial progress in the United States. And as was just acknowledged, there is perhaps no better place to be having this conversation than right here in Louisiana, New Orleans, Louisiana. New Orleans is the prison capital of the world. This city boasts the highest rate of incarceration in the world, and Louisiana has the highest per capita rate of incarceration in the entire world. Louisiana's rate of incarceration is 3 times higher than Iran's and more than 10 times higher than Germany's. No place in the world locks up, cages more of its own people for so little, for so long. Now, there are countless stories that could be told about Jim Crow justice in Louisiana, but I have to say I've been shaken over the past week about Herman Wallace. Just yesterday, as was described, the Louisiana State Penitentiary released Herman Wallace, an innocent man from prison, a man who is dying from liver cancer. His doctors say he has days, maybe just hours left to live. And I'm glad that he has been released, that he has been set free, but the emotion I feel today is something less than joy. So for those of you who may not know who Herman Wallace and the Angola Three are, let me just share a few of the relevant facts. Henry Wallace is a black man who has served 42 years in solitary confinement in a 6 by 9 foot cell for at least 23 hours a day. For 42 years for a crime he did not commit. 42 years in solitary confinement. Most other democratic nations around the world recognize indefinite solitary confinement as a form of torture. Psychiatric associations in the United States have condemned indefinite solitary confinement, and psychiatrists agree that even weeks in solitary confinement can cause mental damage, mental injury, and months or years in solitary confinement can cause irreversible mental damage. Yet Henry Wallace was in solitary confinement, a 6 by 9 foot cage, for 42 years. He was sent to Louisiana State Penitentiary in 1971, a penitentiary that sits on land that was a former slave plantation known as Angola. He was sent to prison for a conviction for armed robbery, and while he was in prison, he and 2 other men became politically active, organizing against the rampant racism, brutality, violence in the prison, and they organized the first prison chapter of the Black Panther Party. Now, Angola at that time had become notorious for its corruption, the racial segregation of inmates, and the brutality visited upon inmates behind bars, and the wide acknowledgement of prison rape that was occurring with a wink and a nod by many guards. And so Henry Wallace, Robert King, and Albert Woodfox aimed to change things on the inside by organizing inmates. And the prison guards and the administrators didn't take too kindly to their organizing activities. And so when a prison guard was murdered in 1973, those 3 men, who are now known as the Angola Three, were charged with murder. The men steadfastly maintained their innocence, insisting that they were being framed in retaliation for their political activities. Thousands of people around the world, including Amnesty International, have joined the call for their release and have supported their claims for innocence. As Amnesty International put it, these men were convicted of murder with no physical evidence linking them to the crime. Potentially exculpatory DNA evidence was lost or destroyed, and the testimony of the main eyewitness. But Herman Wallace remained behind bars in his little cage for 42 years. And no matter what they did to him behind bars, they never managed to break his spirit. And after Katrina wreaked havoc on New Orleans, Herman Wallace was in his cell organizing relief efforts from behind bars. Just recently, doctors informed Herman that his liver cancer was at such an advanced stage that he had days or just hours left to live. And his attorneys were scrambling, filing motions for compassionate release, begging judges to just release this man already. Release him and allow him at least to die, surrounded by his friends and family. The requests for compassionate release were denied, petitions were circulated, and now, as Herman Wallace is literally on his deathbed, a judge overturns his conviction, acknowledging he never received a fair trial. So I'm grateful that he's been released and that he will die surrounded by friends and family who love him, but justice was not done. And Albert Woodfox, the last of the Angola Three, is still behind bars. His conviction has been overturned 3 times, and yet the state of Louisiana has refused to release him. Each time his conviction has been overturned, they vowed to appeal and have held him, kept him confined. When I tell people about Herman Wallace's plight, or what's going down with the Angola Three, many people don't believe me. They don't believe me when they first hear it. They say, nobody can be held for 42 years in solitary confinement. That couldn't happen here, not in the United States. That couldn't happen in this country, maybe somewhere else, but not here. Nothing like that could happen here. Well, what I want to talk about tonight are the truths that we deny. The ugly truths that we're not willing to see. The truths the media won't tell. The truths that for so long, many of us who claim to care have been willing to avoid or look away from.